Hello, everyone. It's 10 p.m. Central Time. I'm in Madison, Wisconsin, and I'm live streaming. So thank you for joining me on Saturday night. There are so many things happening in the political world that I feel like I could talk for hours, but I just have some um, things I want to share. And then, as always, I encourage you to write your comments and ask me questions, and I'm happy to try to answer. So first of all, I was not able to do a live stream yesterday. That was a Friday night. I was busy with a few things, and so I'm joining today. And I think I may wait for a few more moments to see who else might be joining us. Terry sends me a thumbs up. Thank you, Terry, for joining. I appreciate you tuning in. So the big update really is that Senator Tim Scott endorsed Donald Trump. And this is, I think, fabulous news for the Trump campaign. And, Senator Lindsey Graham endorsed Trump's. That means that both the U.S. senators from South Carolina endorsed Donald Trump for president. And the South Carolina primary is coming up. That's next month. And these endorsements give a lot of energy to the Trump campaign. These are great news for the Trump campaign. And this is bad news for Nikki Haley, because Nikki Haley is running for president, and she's running, and she's from South Carolina. And so Nikki Haley is from South Carolina, and both the U.S. senators from South Carolina endorsed Trump. So that's good for Trump. It's bad news for Nikki Haley. And now the question is, should Nikki Haley drop out of the race? That's a decision for her to make, obviously, but it's not looking good for her campaign, given that Tim Scott and Lindsey Graham endorsed Trump. And I have a feeling that Nikki Haley will wait until the South Carolina primary. She probably wants to see the results from South Carolina before making a decision. But I mean, think about it. If on the night of the South Carolina primary, if the results show that Trump's winning, that's not going to look good for Nikki Haley. And so should she drop out? As I mentioned, I think in one of my videos, or maybe in a previous live stream, I am waiting to see who endorses Trump first between Nikki Haley and Ron DeSantis. If Ron DeSantis does it, then I think it'll benefit him. And is Nikki Haley going to endorse Trump? I don't know, but it seems pretty clear to me that Trump is going to be the nominee. That is my prediction. Now, if you have questions, comments on that, please let me know in the chat window. But there's something else I want to mention. Let's look at the Democratic Party side and let's see what's going on. Dean Phillips is running against, is running for president as a Democrat. And who's Dean Phillips, you may be asking. Dean Phillips is a congressman from Minnesota. He's a Democrat, and he is running for the office of the president, which means that he's a primary challenger running against Joe Biden. And what's interesting is, let me read the comments here. Okay. All right. So let me give you this interesting piece of update. Dean Phillips, congressman from Minnesota, running for the president, and he received Andrew Yang's endorsement. Do you remember Andrew Yang? Andrew Yang ran for president in 2020 as a Democrat. And Dean Phillips, so Andrew Yang endorsed Dean Phillips. Uh, now the question is, and I actually just earlier this evening, I did a podcast episode and I put the video version of that podcast episode on my YouTube channel. So if you've already seen that, you may have heard the things I mentioned about Dean Phillips and Andrew Yang and what that means for the presidential race on the Democratic side. But let me just ask you here. Do you think Dean Phillips, congressman from Minnesota, do you think he will win the nomination to be the uh, Democratic nominee for president? Is he going to defeat Joe Biden in the primary? How likely is that? What's the probability for that? I don't know. So let me read Terry's comments here. Terry is writing that South Carolina Governor Henry McMaster, the state's lieutenant governor, and a slew of other senior officials, including the state's attorney general. The screen keeps vanishing, so I have to click. Saturday night AP reporting. Okay, so Terry, my friend Terry, is telling me that some important officials joined Trump on Saturday night. So I'm gonna have to read the whole list. So thank you, Terry, for that update. I appreciate that. So I'm going to continue. So what's the likelihood that Dean Phillips becomes the Democratic nominee for president? I don't know. I'll let you answer that question. But here's the other interesting thing. There is an independent candidate running for president. Do you know who that is? If you are like me, if you pay attention to politics, if you watch the news, if you do your research to see what's going on in the political world, then you already know the answer. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is running for president as an independent. The question is, can he win? Can a third party candidate win the presidency? My friends, the political landscape of our country is dominated by two major political parties, the Republican Party and the Democratic Party. And of course, there are differences of opinions among people within the same party. Within the Republican Party, there are some moderate Republicans, and there are some Republicans who are extremely conservative, and there are differences of opinions among people within the same party, Republican Party. Same in the case of Democratic Party. There are some moderate Democrats and there are some far left socialists, as we know. If you pay attention to politics, you know that. So Terry writes, Kennedy can take votes from Biden, but maybe also Trump. Well, Terry, I am actually going to talk about that in just a minute here. That question does come up, so I'm getting to that here. Most candidates still pick a party affiliation. Most candidates, running for partisan offices, they either run as a Republican or as a Democrat. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is running as an independent. But let me also point out that originally, when he announced his candidacy for the office of the president, he declared his candidacy as a Democrat. And then Robert F. Kennedy Jr. dropped his Democratic primary bid and announced that he's running as an independent. Running is one thing, winning is something else. And the question is, can RFK Jr. win? Now, he obviously comes from a very prominent background. He comes from one of the most famous political families, the Kennedys. He's the son of Senator Robert F. Kennedy, and he's the nephew of President John F. Kennedy. The question is, can RFK Jr. win the presidency? And if you have thoughts on that, please let me know. And what Terry was just mentioning, that Kennedy can take votes from Biden, but maybe also Trump. So here's what I'll say. Some are saying that RFK Jr. may take votes away from Trump. Some are saying that he may take votes away from Biden. I believe that a candidate has to earn votes. You have to earn votes. But I understand what people are trying to say. So here's the question. Will some Republicans choose to vote for RFK Jr.? Will some conservatives decide that they are going to vote for RFK Jr.? And same question on the other side. Will some Democrats choose to vote for RFK Jr.? It's hard to know. We will find out on election night, but let me tell you my thoughts on this. I know that there are Democrat voters who don't see themselves voting for Biden again. And that's very true. I've talked to people. I try to understand just from having conversations the political environment that we live in. I make my own observations and I draw my own conclusions. And I know for sure that there are some voters out there who vote for Democrats, but they don't see themselves voting for Joe Biden again. Because people realize that Joe Biden's policies have been disastrous for our country. We have inflation and the crisis at the southern border that I always keep talking about, and there are lots of other problems. And the Biden administration and their policies have caused permanent damage to our economy. And so there are some voters out there who are liberals, but they are looking for an alternative. Maybe they voted for Biden before, but they don't see themselves voting for Joe Biden again just because his policies have been disastrous. So some of those voters who voted for Biden previously, some of them may decide to switch parties and support the Republican candidate, in this case, Trump. Now, how likely is that? I don't know. I mean, that would be a pretty drastic shift if somebody voted for Biden in 2020 and now decides to vote for Trump. That would be a massive switch. That can happen. That's possible. But then there may be voters out there, Democrat voters, who may decide to vote for an independent candidate, meaning RFK Jr. And that's quite possible, I think. Now, how many voters can RFK Jr. win from the Democrats? I don't know. Here's my thought. In the Republican Party, I feel that most people are very united in their support for Trump. People are very loyal Trump supporters. And it's not just about Trump's personality, it's about his policies. It's about, I mean, some people love his personality, and some people love his policies, and some love both. And there are some very loyal Trump supporters. And of course, there are Republicans who don't want to vote for Trump, those who are supporting other candidates. And that's why you see Nikki Haley and Ron DeSantis in the race. And although they get very little support, because, as you saw at the Iowa caucus, Trump got majority support. But there are folks within the Republican Party who don't want to vote for Trump. But that's where the endorsements come in. That's where the endorsements come in. The more endorsements Trump get, the stronger he becomes. And the endorsements that Trump is getting would help attract voters. So let me give you an example. A lot of folks supported Vivek Ramaswamy for president. He ran a campaign, he got a lot of attention, and he got support from people. When Vivek dropped out and endorsed Trump, I am sure that many of his supporters will trust Vivek's judgment and endorsement and decide to vote for Trump. So Vivek's endorsement will benefit Trump because Vivek's supporters, I'm not saying every Vivek supporter will vote for Trump, but I'm sure many of Vivek's supporters will vote for Trump because Vivek endorsed Trump. Same in the case of Tim Scott. Tim Scott also ran for president. He was running in this cycle, the 2024 cycle. And Tim Scott just announced his support for Trump. He endorsed Trump. And the way Tim Scott endorsed Trump, that speech, that was amazing. If you have not watched it, please go on the internet and look up the speech, the way Tim Scott did the presentation, the way he endorsed Trump, and what he said in his speech. It was just amazing. You should look it up. Tim Scott endorsed Trump, and so people who were supporting Tim Scott for president will now be inclined to vote for Trump. That's my guess. That's my observation. If you disagree, let me know. Let me just check the chat window here. Yep. So Terry writes, Republicans for Trump will stick. So yeah, those Trump has tremendous influence among Republicans. Tremendous. It is so powerful. It is so powerful. As I said, people love Trump for his personality. People love him for his policies. And there are those who love him for both. And let's say if somebody doesn't like Trump for his personality, they will like Trump for his policies. And so there are many reasons why Republicans are such loyal supporters of Donald Trump. And let me check the chat window again. Okay. So, well, the chat window keeps vanishing, so I have to click and make it appear again. Anyway, I am getting better at this as I do more and more live stream. So thanks for your patience. My friends, the most important thing is, if you are a conservative, if you want limited government, if you believe that government should take a step back and let the free market operate, if you love your First Amendment rights, if you love your Second Amendment right, if you believe in peace through strength, then the Republican candidate is the right choice. And in this case, it will very likely be Trump. So going back to the question of whether RFK Jr. will take votes away from Joe Biden or Trump, I think there are Democrats who will not vote for Biden again. Some of them may switch and vote for Trump, which, as I said, would be a massive switch. It would be a massive move. But then there are some who will look for a third-party candidate, who look for an alternative, who won't vote for Joe Biden, but they don't want to vote for a Republican either. Those folks may end up voting for RFK Jr. And that's just my observation. That's my prediction. So I think Republicans will largely vote for Trump. Even those who don't support Trump as the first choice, if and when Ron DeSantis and Haley exit the race, if they decide to do that, then I think even if for Republicans whose first choice is not Trump, they may still vote for Trump just because his policies are so good. When he was the president, things were going well. There were challenges that our country was facing, but his administration was heading in the right direction. They were working hard to secure the border. They were working hard to strengthen our relationship with our international allies. And Trump was governing, as they say, peace through strength. Really, that was the way he governed. And so I think domestic policies, for domestic policies, Trump was a great president. At the international level, Trump was just such a wonderful president. And so people love Trump for his policies. And I am sure that Republicans at the end of the day, they will largely vote for Trump. But some Democrat voters, however, may switch and vote for RFK Jr. And let's not forget, RFK Jr. is from a very prominent Democratic family. So uh, he does have influence among Democrats. So even if he's running as an independent, a lot of Democrats will see him as a Democrat. And those Democrats who choose not to vote for Biden will end up voting for RFK Jr. And that would benefit Trump in the general election. So if more and more Democrats vote for RFK Jr., that will help Trump win the presidency. So those are my thoughts, my friends. I've talked for just over 20 minutes. If you have things you want to ask me, let me know. And Terry, thank you for joining. Terry, my friend Terry has tuned in for all of my live streams so far. So Terry, I appreciate that. And I published a pretty long video earlier this evening, probably about 24-25 minutes long. I talked about many different things in that video. I talked about, Congressman Dean Phillips. I talked about migrants being arrested, migrants in New York City and migrants in Chicago being arrested because of, in Chicago, there are some incidents of criminal activity, alleged crimes, and in a Chicago suburb in Oak Brook. So if you want to hear my thoughts on those issues, please check out my YouTube video that I posted earlier this evening. And let's see if there are more comments here. So Terry is giving me some important information in the chat window, and I have to look those up and read the details once I end this live stream. But, my friends, every day is going to be, you're going to get breaking news every single day. I mean, that's the nature of an election year. We are in 2024. It is January the 20th, but November 2024 is going to be here very soon. Time flies. And because of the nature of politics in America right now, I think there will be breaking news updates every day. And so what I'm trying to do is pay attention to everything that's going on, everything pertaining to the border crisis, everything about election, what's happening in the Democratic primary, what's happening in the Republican primary. I'm looking at different poll numbers. I'm looking at who's endorsing who. And there's a lot of excitement. There's a lot of anticipation. And I am trying my best to absorb all the information, and to share my views, my thoughts, my opinions with my subscribers on YouTube, with my friends and followers. And, I love exercising my First Amendment right to free speech. So I'm very vocal, and I like to share my thoughts with you all. Terry asks, will there be more riots as election conventions get close? We all hope that the public safety situation remains good. We all want peace. We all want a peaceful political process. And unfortunately, things get so heated in politics these days. So we hope for a peaceful political process. We hope for an environment in which people can make informed decisions, and they can exercise their right, and they can go vote for whoever they think is the best candidate. And as a conservative, I am looking forward to seeing a conservative president in the White House. And those who have been following my channel, you already know that I'm supporting Trump. So um, that's my candidate. But a lot of the information that I present to you, I try to be very objective in my presentation. And I think that's important as you know, I'm doing political commentary. And I'm also a public policy analyst by training. So I try to look at things very objectively and to present information in a clear format. And then obviously, if you ask me my preferences, I'll let you know that. And in this case, I am supporting Trump for 2024. So that's all I have for today. Thank you for joining. If you have no other questions, no other comments, I will end this here. Thank you all. I'll be back again with more videos and more live stream. Have a good night. Thank you.